Redeem. To buy back. In Bible times, a person could pay a slave's owner whatever the slave was worth and then set the slave free. The slave had to be redeemed by the person who had bought the slave and then set him or her free. The New Testament tells us that by dying, Jesus paid the price to buy us back and set us free from our slavery to sin.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Sunday. I hope that you had a great week last week and got to enjoy all that wonderful sunshine. Maybe you got to go to the park or take a great walk outside or just play in your backyard. But whatever you did, I hope you got to enjoy that sunshine. Did a little sneak preview into our spring and summer that should hopefully be coming here pretty soon. So I'm excited for our lesson today. It's been following a theme that we've been going on, and we're going to be talking about Ruth and Naomi, which are two really important women that we learn about in the Bible. And the big idea I want you guys to be thinking about while we're going through today's lesson is that I can keep serving God and others even when things are hard. Right? Because we always talk about, it's really easy to praise God, or it's really easy to do the right things when things are easy, when things are going good. But it's important that we're still serving God and serving others. We continuously pray and talk to God even when things get hard. So our Bible verse today is Galatians 6:9, and it is, "Let us not become weary in doing good." And weary means tired. So it says essentially, let us not become tired in doing good, or let us not get tired of doing it. Let us always want to do it with full energy, and every time we do it, we are just more and more excited, but let us just not get weary. Let us not get tired in doing it. So our story today starts off with three sad women. So during the time of the judges, there was a famine in Israel. And a famine is essentially a time where there is no food, very little food grows. Usually it's super dry. If you've heard about maybe, a few years ago, California had what we call drought. So they were a shortage of water. So it hindered their crops. So they weren't able to grow. So it's kind of what a famine is. Their crops are just not growing as much as they should. So they don't have as much food as they should. The people of Israel were super hungry, so some of them actually moved away to the country of Moab. Moab was nearby, and they didn't have a famine, so there was lots of food there. Naomi's family moved there from their home in Bethlehem, a very familiar place to us, right? So they moved from Bethlehem to Moab, and there they lived for many years. During that time, Naomi's husband passed away. Her two sons grew up and married two girls who were from Moab. They had grown up there. But then both of Naomi's sons also died. So now there were three women who didn't have husbands. It was Naomi and then her two sons' widows, their wives. In those days, a woman had to have a male relative care for her at all times. Good thing it's not like that now, huh? That's just how it was. Women didn't have jobs. They usually could not make any money at all. So Naomi decided to go back to Bethlehem. She had heard that there was food in Israel again, so she thought, okay, great, we can leave Moab and go back to where I'm from. And besides that, Naomi's husband's family might be able to help her because she needed somebody to care for her. Someone might be willing to help her get back into the land where her family had owned before, because when she moved, she had to give up all the land that they had owned. Naomi told her daughters-in-laws, go back to your families and perhaps God will send you husbands, so they'd get new husbands. One girl did go home, but the other girl, whose name is Ruth, made up her mind to do something much harder. She wanted to stay with Naomi instead of going back to her family and keep on helping her. Ruth told Naomi, don't ask me to go home. I will go where you go. I will stay where you stay. Your God will be my God, and I will stay with you until I die. Why do you think that Ruth was willing to leave her country to go to Naomi? That's a really big sacrifice. Naomi could see that Ruth was not going to leave her. So Naomi and Ruth began to walk to Bethlehem together. So remember, they don't have cars back then, so they're having to walk everywhere. So these journeys would usually take them days or weeks. When they go to Bethlehem, the first thing that Ruth did was to be sure that she and Naomi had food. So she went to the nearby field where people were harvesting barley, which is like wheat. God had said that poor people could get whatever grain they wanted off of this ground. So Ruth walked along the harvesters, picking up the grain and the barley. Guess what? The field where Ruth picked up grain belonged to Boaz, and Boaz was a member of Naomi's husband's family. So Naomi is our main character. Her husband who had passed away, he was a member of his family. So when Boaz came out to the field, he noticed this young woman. What do you think he said to the stranger in the field? Well, I'm going to read to you what he said. So Boaz said to Ruth, "My daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the men are harvesting and follow along after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you, and whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars that the men have filled." Boaz was glad for Ruth to gather grain in his field. He was happy to get her a drink and ask for whatever she needed. Ruth was amazed by his kindness. She bowed down and asked, "Why are you so kind to me? I'm a foreigner." But Boaz told her that he had heard about her before. He knew how she had left her people to care for Naomi. He could see that she was working hard to care for Naomi. And why do you think that Ruth worked so hard to help Naomi? Why was she so grateful to her? Boaz said, "May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, under whose wings that you have come to take refuge." Boaz made sure that Ruth had extra grain to take home to Naomi and they didn't go hungry. When Naomi saw all the food, her eyes grew wide. And when Naomi heard that Ruth had been Boaz's field, she got really excited. "Boaz is from my husband's family. He can help us," she exclaimed. Boaz could buy back the land Naomi's husband had lost when they moved. So all through the barley harvest and the wheat harvest, Ruth kept picking on grain in Boaz's field, and she was treated very well. And she knew that it was because that Boaz was being kind. When the harvesting ended, there was a party where Boaz gathered his grain. Naomi told Ruth to go and ask Boaz to help him get their family's land back. So Ruth did what Naomi asked. Boaz said that he would be glad to help. You see, whoever bought back the land also got Ruth as his wife. So Boaz ended up marrying Ruth. Soon Boaz and Ruth had a son, and they named him Obed. Naomi had a family once again. What do you think that she thought when she saw all these great things that God had given her? Obed became the great-grandfather of King David. And do you know who came from the land of King David? Jesus. It's someone who was born in Bethlehem. Jesus. Ruth could have given up a lot of times, but she chose to keep on doing what was right. She was faithful to help Naomi and to work hard, and God took care of both Ruth and Naomi. A traffic cone reminds us that sometimes we face obstacles, but obstacles are not always things that we can see. Sometimes they could be things in our head, things that people say to us, and they can be hard things that want us to stop trying or to stop serving God or serving others. And again, remember our memory verse, Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not become weary in doing good." When we feel tired of doing good, it's easy to say that things are just too hard. It's an easy way to want to give up. But there is good news. Even when things are hard, we can still ask God to help us be faithful, and He will help us in amazing ways. Well, I hope you guys have a great week and you think about our lesson today and how we should never become weary or tired of serving God and others. Bye, guys.